If you're looking to take listings in this market, you need a phenomenal conversation starter that'll get you through the door most of the time. This script is one that we've used to take listings over $200,000 of GCI in the first 6 months of the year in my office here in San Diego. Very competitive market. It'll work anywhere. We've got people using it nationwide. We go in depth and dive really into the meat of what's going to make sure that this is successful. Hope you enjoy the content.
For those of you who don't know, my name is Josh Pono. I am a real estate agent slash office owner and a nationwide trainer for our franchise, and also kind of head of training for Ideal Estate. I've been in real estate for about 15 years. The first 8 years of my career, I worked at KV Core. I worked at Boomtown. Boomtown, I was their senior sales executive. I only worked with teams that had at least 25 agents, and we're doing at least 100 sales. I've worked with all the major brands: Coldwell Banker, Berkshire Hathaway, Remax, Better Homes and Garden, brands that are on the East Coast, West Coast, et cetera. You name it, I've kind of done it. I've worked as a listing agent, as a sales manager. I was a partner for the Altman Brothers from Million Dollar Listing LA and their San Diego expansion. And now I am about 60% in production, 40% training agents. So the stuff that we're going to go over is a program and a course that I helped build for. Sorry, Troy, I accidentally clicked the wrong button. I helped build for, it's the same system that my agents and I are using in our San Diego market. We're taking listings consistently through cancel and expires. I just took one yesterday. And this is all about the scripting and the conversation. And it's the exact stuff that we're doing. So it's not something that I did years ago, or it's stuff that we're using in practice every single day. And so I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go over this. This is something that Sean, the VP of marketing, or I forget Sean's exact title. I mean, operations, director of operations. Sean asked me to help build this course. Ideal Estate wants to bring value to agents, and they want to be a community that partners and networks and shares referrals and also really great stuff. And so that's what I'm all about. I'm all about giving back to the agent community and kind of elevating the bar in training. I've made hundreds of thousands of phone calls, cold calls. Our office makes about, 2,000 calls a week right now, maybe a little bit less. This week, everybody's been pretty busy, but for the most part, we make a huge effort. So how many of you guys and how many agents are currently making calls out to cancel and expireds currently, or outbound prospecting to sellers regularly? How many, by show of hands, like in chat or raising your hand or whatever it may be? Don't be shy. You'll notice that all of my questions correlate with a necessity to take a drink of my shake. All right. So this is a script that we wrote that I've been using for years. And, I did the same thing that everybody else does. I go, when I decided to start doing cancel and expires when I was first in real estate, I, Googled best expired script and, real estate expired coaching. But I had already had about 8 years of absolute experience when it came to cold calling in a pure environment. So for agents, we get a ton of phone calls every single week for, people selling us stuff. That's what I used to do. I used to cold call real estate agents. And so for those of you who get the phone calls, you know that agents have very little patience for people trying to sell them stuff. The average person lasts in that business for about 90 days before they just get burned out and they move on to something else. And I lasted 8 years. And what I learned was some fundamentals of selling that really helped me get off to a good start when I got into real estate. My first year in real estate, I sold 33 homes, built a team of 3 or 4 agents, and it was all off of internet leads and cancel and expired. So this is what is the product of 7 years of selling outbound, for real estate specific. Again, I've been in about 15 years. The first 7, 8 years was all working with agents, scripting, courses, processes, consulting, etc. And then the last 7 years have been nothing but selling real estate and building offices. So one thing that I always focus on, and this is module 8. So module 8 is all about getting into the cold calls and making them warm calls. And so what I mean by that is, like, if you call them and treat them like a stranger from the get-go, you're going to get stranger responses. And so many times agents will reach out to people and they speak to them as if they've never spoken to them, and they add that awkwardness to the initial phone call. I don't know you, you don't know me. And now we've got to do this stranger dance, so to speak. Well, what I found when I was going through all my training is that if I reach out to them as if we've already known each other, and if there's already some level of authority, and I spoke to them as if I've worked with them for years and years and years, then I was going to get a much better response. And so I use this opening line, whether I'm working with referrals, cancel and expireds, circle prospecting, for sale by owners, internet leads, Google leads, Facebook leads, social, whatever it is, I use the same formula. Okay. And the first thing, before we get into the calling, when you're working with sellers or any prospect in sales in general, the more you can understand the client's experience, the more you're going to be able to empathize or sympathize with them. I can sympathize. I had a property that when I was moving from Carolina, when I was leaving Boomtown to come back to San Diego to sell real estate, I had a home on the market that didn't sell. And I hired a great agent, had a great track record. And I went through the whole thing of them trying, overpricing the listing and showings and vacuuming 3,000 square feet and getting my little kids out of the house and all the stress it would put on my wife, only to find out that, there was no real good feedback. And then, get short notice, even though the agent promised me they'd give me I went through a horrible experience. So I can actually sympathize with them. But that's really important to understand, is that when you're reaching out to people, there's this underlying impression that the cancel and expired listings or people, there's something wrong with the seller. There's something wrong with them. That's why they, it didn't sell. If it's not selling in this market, it must be an issue type of thing. And what I find is 9 out of 10 problems why they don't sell, it's the agent's fault. I'll give you an example of how I think, and it's a very highly accountable type of thinking. It's not for everybody. It's a pain in the ass to live by this way. Huge Kobe Bryant fan, but extreme accountability. So for example, let's say I go to a listing appointment and I bring all my market data and I bring all my comps and I go to share with them that their property is worth $750,000 and they think it's worth $850,000, and I can't influence them or show them through the mathematical data that it's going to be best for them to list there. And then I end up signing a contract saying that I will sell it for $850,000, and then I promise them I won't do a listing reduction, and then I come in and say, well, you wouldn't listen to me, and I blame them for not being influenced by me. I put that on me. Like, I'm the expert. I'm the one that's supposed to help them get through the process. I'm the one that's supposed to help educate them with reliable information so that they can make the best decisions. I take that on me. Let's say there's a property where it needed staging, it needed painting, it needed to get decluttered, it needed exterior paint, it needed these things. Otherwise, they would get lowball offers from investors, and owner occupied wouldn't want to live in that property. That's on me to convince them or influence them. And if I take that listing, even though they weren't there, then I'm doing the whole thing where we post the property, we list in the MLS, we pray that it's going to sell, right? And so I operate with it. It's my responsibility. It's my duty to get them going. And so when they go through this frustration or they go through this negative experience, I don't ever call with this mindset that there's something wrong with the property. I call with it with a mindset of, I want to understand the situation. I want to seek to understand. It's something I preach in my office all the time. And it's all about understanding, because before I can give them exactly what they need, I need to know exactly what they want. And I need to know exactly what they've been through. Okay. And so when we're going into these calls, I think it's really important to do 3 things, okay? And we talk about this with what I call, you guys should write this down. It's called PPA: pace, power, and assumption. It's a sales technique and a communication technique that will absolutely, without a doubt, increase the amount of people that are having conversations with you, which is where the qualifying and the layering of questions and all that come from. Okay. So for example, When I reach out to them, I'm reaching out to somebody over the phone. If I've never spoken to them, they do not understand my dialect. Okay. If I speak the way I speak to everybody else, or if I speak at the speed in which I'm on this training, in the beginning, I might sound like I'm speaking quickly, but by the end of this training, you'll have a really good grasp on how I'm speaking, and more things will be clear. Even when I'm training, I need to slow down, and nothing is more true than on the phone. We record our calls and we listen to our calls, which we're going to do from the hours of 2 to 3 today. This is the second part of this training. We're going to go through office calls. A lot of them are me, and you'll even hear myself coaching myself to slow down, because we just get into this natural rhythm. But we want to have a nice and slow pace. The reason why the pace is really important: one, they're having trouble understanding the dialect. And you'll notice that I have agents on from my office in this group, and it's funny how many times we'll say, "Hey, Josh Pono, good morning," and they're like, "Oh, hey, what's up? How are you?" And then we start talking, and they're like, "Oh, my name's not John, it's James." But I said John, but they agreed that it was John because they didn't want to be wrong. And then they're like, "Oh, that's not who I am." So it's really important that we speak with a slow pace. Not only will they hear us better, but they will also assume that we have confidence. The newer agents, you can't help but call fast, and you can't help but just kind of run through your script or run through the conversation. When you're going fast, it makes you sound nervous. If you sound nervous, they're not going to trust you to sell their home, and they're just going to place you in the category of everybody else that's calling. And, "Hey, my name is Josh Pono. I saw that we property came off the market in the MLS, and I was just wondering when you're like." They're just going to, as fast as you come at them, the guards go up. All right, so pace. Speak with a very clear and concise and slow pace. If you have an old grandmother and you call her on the phone every Wednesday and you say things like, "Hey, Grandma, how are you doing?" Because she listens, her hearing isn't what it used to be. That's the right pace. And if you record yourself and you listen to yourself, you'll recognize that pretty quickly. Like, holy smokes, I didn't realize I was speaking so quickly. Okay. Power. A lot of the agents, they talk about all this competition with cancel and expired. And it's true, there are a lot of people showing up to perform or showing up to compete, but they're really not. And what I mean by that is none of them, most of the time it's an ISA position. All these mega team leaders that they have these big teams, and they take these expireds, they pay VAs, they pay people that don't know anything about real estate, and they have it on a churn position where they're going to stick around for a while, and they're just going to be on this endless churn horse and pay these people. So you're not really competing with anybody that knows anything about the market. You will get some agents where, like me, where I've been doing it a long time. But again, if you're calling, you're gonna connect with different people. So when you call, use power, use authority, use confidence, where you eliminate filler words, things like actually, "Hey, I'm actually a pretty good real estate agent." Are you sure? "I'm actually good at what I do," right? Like all those types of things. You want to speak very slowly, and you want to use authority. Okay, you want to say your name with prestigiousness. You want to, are you a realtor? Absolutely. And the reason for my call, right? And last but not least, you want to use assumption, and you want to use familiarity. You want to assume that if you deliver your speech confidently, if they hear you, of course they're going to talk to you. One of the things I joke about in my office, and we're going to get into the delivery of the cold call and the script, but these are all things, by the way, if you're not getting your brain here, where you're in this Zen-like, I'm going out to tell the world how professional, how strong, and how awesome I am without having to brag a lot. If you can't get your space there, then the words are not going to come out, right? First, we think about the thoughts that lead about to our emotions, that lead about to the actions. Okay. And so when I reach out to people, I know they have a problem. The joke in my office is when people are like, "Oh, you're a realtor, I'm all set." And my joke is always, obviously not. You're on my list. I only have a list of people with problems. Your property didn't sell and you wanted it to sell. So you say you're all set, but Obviously not, because I got your information. You're on the phone with me. How'd that happen? Now that's mindset. That's not delivery. Because if I sounded like that, nobody would speak to me because it's arrogant, right? But underneath, there needs to be a little competitive grit to you. There needs to be like because they're going to try to sell you. They think you're like everybody else. You're telling them you're the best agent for them. Somebody's going to win. I'm not a huge fan of the like hang up or sign up. I used to do it. It's toxic. It's demeaning. It's not the best way. It's gritty. It's grimy. It's not fulfilling. And you still have to have some grit that you're not going to convince me that I can't help you. I know I can help you. Your property didn't sell. Well, Josh, what about the properties that were overpriced and they were looking, they were trying to sell their property for too much. They were probably trying to buy a property for a replacement property that was way too little. What about those people? I would have told those people that they should wait till next year. So I would have saved them a bunch of time. And that would have allowed them to get the right fit. So again, it all goes back to I can help them right now. Once we're there, so many times agents will say, Josh, how do you differentiate yourself? How do you speak with value? How do you, what kind of value props do you have? It all starts with personality and mindset. It all starts, most people hate calling. Like if you ask them, they're like, oh, I hate cold calling. And every now and again, you get somebody that's like, I love cold calling. And I always laugh because I'm like, you haven't been doing it long enough. It's not exactly fun. The results, the rewards can be worth it. The pain of what we're doing every day is far outweighed by the benefits of our lives. So in 2020 and 2021, the last 2 years I was in full-time production, I did over 1.6 million in GCI. Most of it was outbound stuff, a pipeline that I had built. And during that year, I had somebody one time, I was on the phone and I called him and he said, hey, stop talking. He's like, let me give you a piece of advice. And he starts speaking. I said, hold on, time out. Hold on. Let me get my note card out because I don't want to miss this one. This one's going to be good. I always take really good life advice from strangers at a cold call at 8:04 in the morning. Hold on. All right, go ahead. Oh, yeah, that's not. Pen's out. Hold on. All right, go ahead. I'm ready for my life advice. He goes, get a real effing job. And I was like, God, I've been trying for years, but cold calling for real estate has just been by far the most dollar productive activity. I asked God to make me a hockey player. I did. But you know what, sir? I got it right here. Find a real effing job. Fantastic. And should I put Mr. Smith or John Smith? What would you prefer, like in the quotes, right? And you'll have fun with it. But the point is that like you can make a lot of money by building phenomenal relationships. And keep this in mind. People say it's really hard to create a relationship out of thin air over the cold calling and stuff. I'd argue that it's easier to create a new relationship with a stranger that knows none of your baggage, none of your past, none of your experiences, none of your this, none of your that. It's easier to create a relationship with them that you're the new business boss lady that you always wanted to be, you're the empire builder. It's easier to show them you're that person than change the opinions of people you know for 10 or 15 years. Now, I'm not saying referrals aren't great, and I'm saying that you can do a lot of damage by creating if you're in the right place. All of this stuff is mindset, and it's all instrumental in part of what goes into making agents successful when it comes to making outbound calls. It's all about taking listings. And I use the word taking by design. It's a mindset. Does anybody have any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to transition into the script. All right. So from a personality perspective, I want to work with I use the scripts as my baseline, my foundation. I don't tell people to stay like, you do not want to be robotic. You do not want to sound unauthentic. You do not want to sound disingenuous. You want to sound like you, as if you were at a barbecue and somebody said, hey, I've got a problem with my real estate. What's going on? And you would have a conversation with them. This opening line will change all of your conversations for the better and lead to way more success. And there's psychology behind it that gets them off their scripts. You're on your script, they're on their script. They got a script that says not interested to people I don't know. You've got a script that says I can sell your house. Okay. We start out, and again, with familiarity, great pace, great power. I assume they're going to speak to me because I know I provide value. And we'll start out by saying, hey, Josh, this is John Smith. Good morning. Okay. And we start out by saying their name as if we know them. It cracks me up when people call me on my cell phone, which are most of the phone numbers. They call me on my cell phone and they're like, is this Josh? I'm like, no, this is another man answering his cell phone. How can I help? Right? Like, just assume it's them. Hey, Josh, and say it like you've known them forever. People do not want to forget other people. People do not want to be wrong. People do not want to look bad. People do not want to look like they have a bad memory. People do not want to look like they make mistakes. And when you say, hey, Josh, and you pause right there, they start thinking. You got to let them think. Who is this? Huh. The whole time they're not on their I'm not interested script. Their mind is in a completely different place. And then when you come out with your name, you say it as if you're a top producing agent. Hey, this is Josh Pono. Hey, John, Josh Pono. Josh Pono. God, he sounds like I know him. Who is this guy? And then you go, good morning. And you'll hear them stumble like, good morning to you. How are you? Never say, how are you? It's very salesy. And you're cold calling people that have just gone through a bunch. You'll hear it all the time. Hey, this is Josh Pono. Good morning. How are you today? One, you don't want to open up to strangers. You don't want to tell people how you're feeling. What's this call regarding? Why are you calling me? Asking how are you is very salesy. It's cheesy. And let's be real, as agents, do we really care if they're in a bad mood? If you called somebody and said, hey, how are you today? And they said, oh, I'm doing horrible. My wife left me. I'm getting divorced and I've got to sell this house and I don't want to sell it, but I have to. I need a good agent. Would you say, I don't want to work with you. You're not in a good mood. You're in a bad mood. No, we're in real estate, death, divorce, probate, all kinds of different stuff. Like we have to work with people in some of the most emotional time. So you say good morning or good afternoon or good evening. And you say it like with some enthusiasm, like you love your job, like you love your business, like you love what you're doing. Psychologically, it's all off because everybody else is like under pressure. They're not feeling good. They like, I can't wait to get through these calls. Oh, these calls suck. They never work. Oh, these people are rude. Oh, I hate doing this. Like they're in that negative mode. So just for you coming in and be like, oh, good morning. Happy Tuesday. If you come in with that energy, they can feel the difference. You don't have to say it. And you wait for the response because you're going to get a couple different things. One, you're going to get somebody's like, yeah, can I help you? I'm a negative Nancy and I don't enjoy your enthusiastic positivity. And if they come out like that, you'll see me smile and then you'll see me switch into a more serious business, like talking to an attorney. I'll switch it up. I'll listen and I'll be a little bit more direct. But I want them to identify what kind of person they are from the get-go so I can mirror that. Okay. And by the way, mirroring is not trying to replicate them exactly. People do mirroring wrong all the time. If their energy is here, I don't want to keep their energy the same. I want to bring it up. I want them to think, man, every time I'm around Josh, my energy is just better. Like I feel good. Like that guy's got it. I want to bring their energy up. So if I mirror them, I'm not up here. If they're like, yeah, can I help you? I'm not like, what's up? But I am over here like, good morning. Right? I'm gonna be a little bit higher. I'm gonna try to bring them up with me. I'm gonna try to energize them. What you'll also find is you'll find people that get off track and they go, oh, good morning. How are you? Why? Because many of us were programmed from youth that if somebody says good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, what do? You say it back. That's appropriate. So now they're still off their script, but now another script is kicking in. This person said good morning. I'm now going to go and say something back to them. And they might say, Josh, how are you today? Here's where agents make mistakes all the time. They'll say something like this, because so far all I've said is good morning. I haven't said, how are you? But when they say, Josh, how are you? I have a couple of lines that I use. This is an opportunity to not miss some rapport building. Most agents, when I listen to calls, they'll say, good morning, how are you? And they're like, I'm fine. Listen, I'm calling about 123 Main Street. You just literally told them you don't care about pleasantries. You don't slow down to build a relationship. You don't acknowledge there's a social back and forth. I'm fine. Listen, I was calling about 123 Main Street. I was calling about your listing because I don't really want to sit here and chat with you that much. I want to get through this call as quickly as possible to find out whether or not you're qualified or not, because I don't want to waste my time because my time is valuable, right? Like, that's not exactly what we say, but it's kind of what we say. So when they do that with me, I switch the game up on them. I go, I'd say somewhere between fantastic and phenomenal. It's early. You can't always tell right away. How are you? Okay. And I want to hit him right in the face with some positivity. I know what all the other agents are saying. They're nervous. They're like shaking in their boots. But now that it's past the pandemic, they're shaking in their flip-flops and their shorts, calling at the desk at home. I want to showcase that, and it doesn't, I enjoy humor. I enjoy people that are really positive. I vibe off of high energy people. So I like to attract that. If that's not you, that's okay. There are some times where I've had people and they're like, do you think you're funny? I said, well, my mom thinks I'm funny. She told me I should be a comedian, but that life's even rougher than cold calling real estate people. Right. And I just have fun with it. But I've had people mock me and whatnot. And that's fine, because you know what? I don't want to work with those people anyway. I don't want to, like, I got negged out from their just breathing on the phone. No, thank you. On to the next one. When they say, how are you? And you trick is the wrong word. When you structured your conversation to elicit a response that allows you to build rapport, which is absolutely critical to getting a sale. When you elicit that response, slow down, enjoy the moment. You just got a great response. Okay. And you slow down, you say, oh man, I'm doing lovely. And my agents have heard me on the phone. I'll say, oh man, I'm so lovely. The point is to differentiate myself, to showcase some of my personality. I've got my go-tos. How you doing, Josh? Oh my goodness, I'm trying to count clouds. And normally I can only count to 6, but it's a good thing I live in San Diego because there's literally 0 clouds in the sky. I couldn't complain if I tried. I'm trying to find them. How about you? Got to show some personality right out the gate, because us saying, oh, well, I'm the best agent in the planet. Oh, I've been living in this. I've been living here. I live in this neighborhood. I've sold 25 homes. They're like, you sound like everybody else. You sound like everybody else. I'll give you an example why no matter how much you brag, no matter how much no matter how many accolades you have, they will never, ever, ever hear anything other than blah, 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 successful agent, wannabe agent. When I first got to the Altman brothers, I started calling cancel and expired, but now I was calling cancel and expired like 4, 5, 6, 7, $10 million properties. I was very excited because I knew for a fact sooner or later somebody's going to say, what makes you different? And I was very excited because I had 6 or 7 things that I could say that nobody in their right mind could say. It was a differentiator by far. I could say things like, well, other than the fact that we have a TV show that airs in 140 different territories and is viewed over 100 million times per season, other than that we sold 5 times more than anybody else in San Diego, more than the top 3 teams combined, other than the fact that we have over 3 million followers on all social platforms and we're tapped into all the major celebrities and all that stuff. We help Alicia Keys buy the house, blah, 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 blah. Other than that, we're really awesome. Like something along those lines. And I gave it to somebody one time and I did it in this very here's a few things that nobody in their right mind. And no joke, the first time I delivered it, I was so excited. I'm waiting, what they gonna say now? And she literally is like, sounds like everybody else. I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, you got 20 agents talking about their TV shows. I'm the 19th person. Like, they're just always going to hear what you're doing, which is talking about yourself, not them. So it doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter how many accolades you have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You need to know that it's more important to talk about them than it is to talk about us. Okay. And so once we get that, how are you? And they might say, I'm fine, what's going on? And they might say, I love your approach. Or they might say, what's going on? I simply say, if it's early in the morning from 8 to 8:15, 8 to 8:15 is one of the best times to call. It's because it's the first moment that you can call legally. Some agents will be clowns and call at 7 o'clock and piss people off. I never call before 8. 8 o'clock on the dot, though. I mean, I'm talking 8 o'clock on the second. Like, I'm waiting in line for tickets from Stevie Nicks or something for my wife. Like, I am there instantly. Thanks, Surreal. Good to know I got a laugh out of you. At 8 o'clock on the dot. And we'll be in our call sessions, because I do live call trainings where the agents, I'll send out the link and I'll let them listen and watch me prospect live. I mean, if it gets to 8 o'clock, and the moment that strikes, I get there, because there's a line. There's a line. All the other agents, the other hustling ambitions. And by the way, if you get there first, they've only gotten one phone call, or maybe you're the first phone call, but you have to call at 8 o'clock, not 8:03, not 8:05, not 8:07, 8 o'clock. If you're going to hit that time session. And if I'm in that first 15-minute time block, and by the way, I've tried and tested this every different way. If you call at 8 o'clock and you use this script, their guard's going to be down lower, and you can just go right in. And it's really simple. Hey, listen, I'm calling about 123 Main Street. Did you sell that property, or is it still for sale? Okay. I know the property already came off the market. I know they didn't sell it. I just want to transition from awkward introduction to talking about real estate. I also know that if I had a bag of cash, if I called them the day after their property expired, I still laugh at that. I know that if I call them the day after it expired, so it expired yesterday, it canceled yesterday, and I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't call in the last 6 months. I've got a bag of cash for your full price, ready to go. I'll be flexible with your time, and you can do whatever you want. Most people would go. So is it still for sale? Yes. Is it on the market for sale? No. And they might say, it doesn't even matter what they say, by the way. And I literally write this in bold. Sometimes they'll say stuff like, it's not for sale, thank you for calling. Sometimes they'll say, I don't want to talk to any real estate agents. I'm so tired of talking to agents. I hate agents. Hey, we're waiting 6 months. We're interviewing people down the road. Oh, we've already selected a new agent. Oh, we're coming back to the market in a week. Oh, blah, blah. Like, whatever they say, I flip the script on them. Because here's another area where agents make a mistake all the time. They say something like, oh, we took it off the market, we're not selling. And agents go, oh, okay, so you're not selling? You're just double reaffirming exactly what they said, and you're making it super easy for them to say no. Yeah, we're not selling. Oh, okay, well, thank you. And you get stuck. You get stuck because you hesitate, like, oh, wait, is this a good prospect? Is this a bad prospect? What kind of prospect is this? Should I keep going? Should I not keep going? No matter what they say, here's the secret. That's exactly why I'm calling. I hate agents. I know. That's exactly why I'm calling. When are you going to get the best agent to get the property sold? Yep, we're taking it off the market. We're not selling it. I know. That's exactly why I'm calling. When are you interviewing? When? Tonality. When are you going to interview the best agent to get the home sold? And you might hear all kinds of different things like, I don't know. We're not sure. We're waiting for the market. Interest rates came up. Well, it's a horrible situation. We're going to do some improvements. We're going to do some repairs, blah, 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 blah. If they use no in any form, meaning other than, we're interviewing in 3 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 9 weeks, in 12 weeks, we're never interviewing, blah, blah, blah. Well, if they're never interviewing, throw them in the no, but anything other than, yes, we're interviewing at some point. You simply say, that makes complete sense. Whatever the blame may be, hey, I totally appreciate where you're coming from. And by the way, slow tone, slow pace, I can appreciate where you're coming from, but why do the agent, you got to sell the Their guard is here. You said you want to talk to them about interviewing. They said no. They put their guard up here. You got to bring their guard down first. You have to bring their guard down so that they can accept. Ever try to coach a real estate agent after they just messed up a call? You come in and you're like, well, you didn't give them any options. Yes, I did. Right? Like, you ever try to help somebody right after they just screwed up and they know about it? Yeah, me neither. I'm just kidding. We do those things. Sometimes we just go and be like, well, you dropped the ball. I mean, you should have seen the clock. You had to shoot. You didn't shoot. Game over. You lost. You're going to get this emotional response. So before you try to give them something different, you want to get the emotional response and you want to get the guard down. And so the way you do that is you disarm them with what's called a cushion. A cushion is designed to give them a soft landing, give them something nice to sit on, something comfortable. Hey, you know what? Thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate where you're coming from. Ah, gosh, you know what though? I'm always curious, how did this home, this is an incredible home, how did this one not sell in this market? What did the agent say on why it didn't sell? The reason why this is a go-to question. One, it uncovers agency real quick. If they say to me, oh, my wife's the agent. She said it didn't sell because we were overpriced and we knew that, but my wife's the agent. I don't care how good I am. The wife's a better salesman than me. Happy wife, happy life. That's not happening. Now, maybe there's a, hey, did you guys ever, is your wife full-time agent? No, she's not full-time. She's part-time. She just has it here and there. Hey, would you ever consider a co-listing option? Maybe you and your wife and I and everybody, we all partner up and we get the deal done. Have you ever thought about that? That may be an angle, but I want to get to agency right away. I do not want to spend time on phone calls with people like, yeah, my best friend who saved me and also donated his extra kidney to me. Otherwise, I would have died. He's my real estate agent, and I'm going to use him. Cool. Be well. Congrats on the kidney transfer. The other reason why it's incredible is it's going to open up pain. It's going to open up pain. It's like they just went through a situation where they had like a needle in their eye and you just wiggled the needle in the eye. It's like, hey, what happened? And they might say all kinds of different things. Well, here's the thing. The agent was lazy, did blah, 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 blah. I never badmouth an agent, but there's nothing wrong with me highlighting that there was a challenge. The whole course that I built was called Breakthroughs, Expired Listing Breakthrough. And mastery, like you have to get them to understand that you do have a problem. You think you don't have cancer? You do. You think the agent was awesome? Not for nothing. They've done 3 deals in the last 2 years and they've had 7 expired properties. We never say that, but they have to understand that no, they're not all set. If they were all set, they'd be living in their new house and they wouldn't be talking to me. They'd be getting a closing gift, a Cutco knife from their preferred realtor with a little bit of logo on it so they can tax deduct it. That's what all set looks like. So when we come in, we say, hey, I'm curious, you know, gosh, the market's been so hot. The inventory has been so low. I mean, even the interest rates really hasn't affected demand as much as we thought it would. What did the agent say on why they didn't sell the home? Or if they're like, yeah, we're interviewing agents. Hey, that's awesome. I specialize in this. What are the top 3 things you're looking for in a real estate agent? Again, this is another area where agents go, oh, well, you should interview me because I'm incredible. I'm great. I got Kobe Bryant shoes. I'm the man. I'm a boss lady. People quake when I cruise down the street watching the Barbie movie. Let's go. Speaking of which, I'm going to see that movie soon. I'm going to get some pink glasses, make sure I live up to the hype. So with that being said, I want to make sure that I focus on them. I don't want to talk about me. I want to say, hey, that's awesome. Congratulations on being so smart and making a switch in agency. That's the perfect thing to do, because if something went down that wasn't good, don't do the same thing over and over again and hope to get different results. Do something different. I'm impressed with you. You're incredible. Gosh, you sound like all my best clients. Real quick, what are the top 3 things you want from the real estate agent? What experiences did you have last time that you do not want to experience now? and then just listen. And if they say stuff like, well, I want better marketing, better communication, and, you know, somebody that actually does their job. Don't go, okay, great. I can do all three things I'm the best at doing my job. I'm the best at communication. I'm the best at better marketing. You know, gosh, you mentioned marketing, and it's such a generic and loose term. So many agents talk about phenomenal marketing. And when I actually break it down, I'm always interested in what you mean. What happened to where you think you need better marketing? Well, you know, they didn't do any open houses. They barely did any advertising. The photos were crap. Gotcha. So it's not just the marketing. You felt the presentation of the property was lacking. Yeah, they took it on their iPhone, and then I had to help them rewrite the description. Gotcha. So it wasn't that you needed better marketing. They just had a lack of competency in the basic fundamentals of marketing. Yeah, that's exactly right. Wow. Okay. And now wait, you mentioned open houses. Are you a big fan of open houses? Well, isn't that how the property gets sold? It can be. Let me ask you this. Is it easy for you to leave the house for 4 or 5 hours? Is it easy for you to show the property? Right? Do you see what I'm doing there? I'm layering these questions into it. So I don't, like, if somebody said to me, I want phenomenal marketing, I don't know what the hell that means. Does that mean social? Does that mean YouTube retargeting? Does that mean Facebook? What does that mean? I want somebody with great communication. Okay, great. What does that mean to you? I got some clients that they go, Josh, here's the keys. Call me when it's sold. And I send them a text every now and then. Here's the update. Here's what's going on. Offers coming in. That's it. That's their great communication. I got some people, they got to call me at 7:45 because they got an idea. And they got to talk about it. And they want to know whether or not I think the armoire should be moved to the left side for the photos tomorrow. What's communication to you? I'm always also trying to restate, by the way, those in my words to be the underlying statement. And what I mean by that is if they say I want great marketing and I uncover that they didn't have great photography, gotcha. So what you're really saying is that you want somebody to bring the property. I don't know what that means, Linda, but I'm glad I'm making you laugh. Anyway, I'm always you know, ever since like COVID and stuff, like we do a lot of trainings and I'll have 30, 40 agents sometimes, but all of it is black and all of it, there's no video and there's no audio. And so I always have these little fun jokes inside my head that everybody's just pointing at me and making fun of me, but they stick around because of my bushy eyebrows keep them entertained. But anyway, I digress. That's what my wife would say. I asked my wife, what's the #1 feature about Josh Pono? I was hoping for like professional or cool skills or great hockey player, you know, or caring. She's like, bushy eyebrows, the glasses. Yeah, I like these glasses. They light up too. All right, so I'm always going to layer in, and then I'm going to go into some layering questions. And in module 9, we're going to break this down every single day on Thursday, and we're going to go through the course. And so module 9 gets into layering, but if you're not crushing the first few minutes of the phone call, then you're not going to set them up the right way. It would be like being so concerned about the launch of a rocket, but putting it on unstable ground and not having a proper launching pad, right? Like you could have the best rocket in the world, you could have it ready to rock and roll and fire off, but if you got it on an unstable, not flat, not developed launch pad, it's never going to work. And so there, by design, we slow down in this. Now, sometimes people say, well, Josh, what about the cancel and expires to get 10, 15 calls? And I'll say, yep, they're there. They're there. And what I do that's a little bit different, and it takes some practice, but what I do that helps break the ice is we address the elephant in the room. Okay. And so the opening, still the same. Hey, John, Josh Pono, good morning. Good morning, Vietnam. Right? Come in, familiarity. Hey, what's going on? Then I just adjust it a little bit because by 8:15, by 12 o'clock, by 3 o'clock, by 2 days later, they've already gotten a bunch of phone calls. And so I will say, listen, and it's a reasoning tone. I do this all the time, so I'm going to tell you before you tell me, because if I don't say anything, you're going to tell me about what number in line I am. So I'm going to address it to take that power away from you. And I start by saying, hey, listen, John, I get it, man. I know you've received numerous phone calls from agents. You got realtors hiding in your bushes, chasing you down as you're driving down the street. Okay. I'm looking for homes for homes that are coming to the market for buyers. I specialize in selling homes that came off the market. I wanted to know what the story was with the sale or the property that never had a move. What happened? Okay, I can also say, listen, I specialize in selling homes that other people didn't. I saw this home on the market. I got a notification. I'm flabbergasted at what's going on with the property. What's the story? There's got to be something going on. And you'll hear people when you do it right. All right, Josh, here's the story. And it's like, great. And then I got my trusty little notepad and I just start. So here's the story. We hired the agent, we visited it, and they'll go through it. And then you just listen and you pick apart little different things. You're in the conversation. It's now a warm call. And they might say, so that's what happened. Hey, phenomenal. Makes sense. When are you interviewing the best agents to get sold? Right? Oh, well, 3 months. Great. Fantastic. Hey, I'm always curious. Why didn't the home, right? It's the same formula. We don't have to overcomplicate it. Again, I want to know about agency. I want to know about why it didn't sell. I want to know about what the action was. We'll get more into that in module 9. But these are just the two things that we go into. And by the way, the canceled and expired, like I literally have told people, hey, listen, I get it. You got, hundreds of phone calls. You got realtors hiding in the bushes. You opened up your shower curtain this morning to take a shower and there was an agent there. I get it. I specialize in selling these properties that have problems, that didn't move, didn't sell. I just want to know what the story is. And then I'm on my way. Right? I'm just here to figure out the story, and I'm on my way. I can't figure it out looking online. And no joke, I've had people, you just have fun, right? And so this one woman, I have it on a recording, actually. I can't, maybe I can find it, but I sent it to the office. This woman was like, gosh, these realtors are everywhere. You guys just don't, oh my gosh, it's so disgusting. I was like, listen. I get it. You got realtors hiding in the bushes. And I'm not trying to be a stalker, and I'm most certainly not trying to be a creeper, but your furniture looks fantastic from the lawn. And I just stopped. And there was about a 4-second delay, and then she just laughed. And it's like, you got to acknowledge the silliness of real estate. A property doesn't sell, and then all of a sudden they get 25 phone calls. 25 phone calls. And now all of us are the greatest agents in sliced bread, and we're going to help them and be the savior and blah, 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 blah. Again, it all goes back to a few basic fundamentals. Be positive. Be energetic. Slow down so that you know that when you speak, they can hear you. Speak with authority because you know the process and they don't. I asked somebody said, an agent in my office, they've been in real estate for 4 years. They've sold a bunch of homes. And I asked them this question. If I was a seller, and I ask everybody in this room, if I was a seller and I said, here are the keys to the property. You can do whatever you want to it. You can get it ready. You can paint it. You can stage it. I'll pay for it. You can price it exactly the way you want. You can do the marketing the way you want, the open houses. I won't get in your way at all. If every client said that to you, would you ever not have a sale? Would you ever have a property that you couldn't sell? The only time we have trouble selling properties is when sellers make our lives difficult. Otherwise, we'd price it right. We'd price it a few percent below market. We'd get a couple offers. We'd get the right fit. We'd lock it in. We'd pick the right buyer. We wouldn't nickel and dime over $1,000, right? It's the emotional stuff. And so you know how to sell homes. And they may try to convince you that their property doesn't need you, or they may try to convince you that they're special, or there's some sort of crazy situation. No, it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. So be confident in that you can help. And then it comes down to consistency. So, like I'll share with you guys that like there's probably been 3 days in the last 2 weeks that I sat on the dialer for an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes, maybe got one person to tell me kick rocks and nobody else. The human side of me is like, oh, it's kind of embarrassing. I'm supposed to be this guru about, and the experience side of me is like, all right, that was a great session, everybody. See you tomorrow. We do it again tomorrow. I've gone weeks with no appointments, and then I've gone weeks where I get 4, 5, 6 appointments. But the challenge is, how do you get yourself into the right mindset so that when you call, you're not carrying this negative baggage with you from the previous relationships or the previous phone calls? Questions? Thoughts? Ahas?
It's good stuff, man. Appreciate the breakdown. One thing I that you said recently that really hit me, and I go back to how you started the call today. One thing you said is if they're in the situation they are is because there was a step skipped, and that's where we come in, is to figure out where the step was skipped and how to put the process moving forward all in place for them to get what they want. And that really that I thought that was really freeing, because all of a sudden when you really look at it from a process perspective that way, and if that discussion can take place with that person, it really simplifies the whole approach and the discussion, because that's really devoid of emotions. Yeah, it's a process and it's the steps. So something skipped. What was it? And that's the race right there. The race is to find out what step was skipped, most likely several, and to show that we know the steps and put them in place so that we all walk together to the finish line, step by step.
Yeah, that's a really great point, because I talk about breakthroughs all the time. And the key to helping people get to the breakthrough is helping them realize a step in the process was missing. I'll give every single agent an example. And we've all done this mistake. I've done it and I've wasted tons of time on it. This one process helped me save tons of time and really gives the clients great service. So for example, if I were to ask everybody, hey, has anybody ever had the seller that wants too much money, wants to sell, go buy another property, and they don't want to pay for the replacement property? We've all had that person. And what a lot of agents do is they go, all right, well, let's list it, or all right, let's go find the home. And then you'll get that prospect on the line and they'll say something along the lines, oh, it's not a problem. Agent was fine. Agent was great. And, it's just this market, we got an offer accepted and then the interest rates were just too high. And then we couldn't afford the replacement property. I say, great. Let me ask you a question. Did you get an offer accepted? Yes. And when you went out and looked at properties, did you have trouble securing the property, or did you have trouble finding a property that you could make an offer on? No, we didn't even find anything we could make an offer on. Okay. And out of curiosity, how much more money did you need in order to buy that replacement property? Well, everything we needed was $100,000 over what our budget could afford with these interest rates. So let me confirm some timelines, because you went on the market in May. You got it sold in May, like May-ish, June. You then were looking for a property for 60 days and then it canceled. The interest rates have been relatively the same the whole time. I mean, quarter here, quarter there, half here, but they've been like this the whole time. So when you say that you were $100,000 over at, like, you were $100,000 out of your preferred budget, how did you not know that until 60 days in the process? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, let me ask you this. When you got your property in escrow,
or even before that, we can even go back if you'd like. When you did the listing presentation and they said, hey, we're going to sell your home for this amount, did they then go get you a seller net sheet that took all the commissions, all the property taxes, all the transfer costs, all the state fees, all everything, and show you exactly what you were going to net? Well, no, they didn't do that. Really? They didn't get you a net seller sheet? So what did you take to the lender when you were qualifying? Well, we just told them we'd get about 250,000. Gotcha. So you went to your financial person based on the agent not getting you a net seller sheet, and then gave them a roundabout number. And then they said, sounds good, should be good. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Huh. Let me ask you this. Did the agent ever take a list of, when you decided to do that listing presentation and the agent knew you were going to buy a replacement property, right? Of course. When the agent took that information, did they send you 30 days of the sold properties, the last 30 days of sold properties in like an MLS search, but a reverse search for sold? No. Really? So they didn't get you the exact numbers. Then when you got the roundabout numbers, they didn't even send you what's been sold in the market the last 30 days, just to make sure there was actually stuff that you liked. So for example, if I would have sent you a list of properties that were all in your criteria and all of them were the same ones you looked at that you didn't want to make an offer on, would you have even gone through this process? Well, maybe not. Okay, gotcha. So your agent, based on what you're telling me, didn't provide you with essential documentation to give you the provided and necessary information to get the right, accurate financial basis. And then 60 days later, it all fell out. And you think they did a okay job? Do you feel like there was anything else that could have been done to put you in a better position to either save time or accomplish your goal? Right? So highlighted a broken piece of the process. And by the way, I learned that process through failing. Because then I did the same thing one time. And finally, I was like, you know what, from now on, if I get this unrealistic seller that wants too much money and then they want to go buy a house with and their criteria doesn't match, I'm going to send them a list of all the solds for the last 30 days. And I'm going to ask them, do you want to go see any of these properties? I know they're sold, but would you want to go see any of them? And if they tell me no, out of 45 properties, that there's not one that they would go, then I'd go up and go, okay, for $100,000 more, here's the last 30 days of the same search. Send it to them. Go, do any of these properties inspire you? You know what? I want to go see 20 of these. Fantastic. Take that to the lender. That's what that payment costs. Are you willing to do the difference during this search? Because you just let us know. And by the way, the market's going up 1 or 2%. You just let us know you're not going to want to be excited about any of those ones that you're willing to pay for. We've got to have a come to Jesus talk. And by highlighting that misstep in the process, they then can go, oh man, this person's intuitive and this person's insightful. This person knows the process. This person's an expert. This person's clearly better than the previous agent I had. Maybe I need to rethink this. That's exactly why I was calling.